number one, but not unanimous. More on that in a second. Joe Burrow, Allen, Lamar, the reigning MVP, who I don't know is 60-23
Respect
all
on
time.
my guy Matt Stafford's name. How about that? It's right where he was in the mountain, too.
Overrated.
Okay.
Who's saying that? Josh. It's frisky. Herbert, Stroud, Aaron Rodgers hasn't thrown for
Interesting list.
Goff, and then finally Dak. So we'll start with Dak at 10. Here's his stats last year for being the 10th best quarterback in the league.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I don't see any 10s on there. So, Dak too high, too low, or just right?
Brew, I truly don't know where you're going to stand on this. We never talked before the show, but we also haven't talked in 10 days. Bruce been.
You were on the island.
So I'm curious what you're going to say, but I think this is basically the exact right spot for Dak. Even if I might have a couple guys who were behind him ahead of him and a couple guys who were ahead of him behind him. You know what I mean? Like but I think 10th best quarterback in the league is almost exactly right, especially because it seems like rookies were ineligible for this list. So if you're really high on Caleb like me or Jaden or Drake or whomever.
I don't know if they're ineligible. I just don't know if anyone's putting Caleb top 10.
Well, no, I don't think I mean.
You want Drake May top 10?
No, I don't think any rookie has ever, when they've done this, gotten top 10 votes. So they're de facto ineligible.
Yeah.
So, and that's why this is such a tough spot for Dallas, bro. Because he's clearly not in there's the Mahomes tier, then there's that tier right beneath it, which I think we all kind of agree on mostly who's in that. Lamar is in it, Josh Allen's in it, Burrow's in it. And he's clearly also better than guys like Baker or Kirk post-Achilles, I think. I would say Tua in that, but I know we don't have to argue about it. He is somewhere in that meaty middle of good. And you love that quarterback on a rookie deal. You're fine with that quarterback on a good deal. And you're terrified of that quarterback on the highest, being the number one paid guy in the league, which is the spot Dallas finds themselves in. But as far as the actual pen-to-paper rankings, about 10 to me, Brew, is exactly right.
Yeah, I'm not mad at your analysis of that. I think there are a group of 7, 8 guys or so that are, any given year will go from 8 to 15 or whatever.
Correct.
Here are the 6 that are on that list behind Dak that you might want to argue. Someone might want to argue for. Tua, Jordan Love, Cousins, Jalen Hurts, Trevor Lawrence, and Brock Purdy.
Yes.
And I'm going to kind of compare each one to Dak. Tua, just no. Just no. I'm not putting him ahead of Dak.
Just no.
I mean, first of all, okay, one healthy season in 4 years. And can't beat any good teams. 1-6 against playoff teams.
And then
God forbid a brisk win. A brisk win. It'll be a little bit chilly.
The wind is okay
and
with
you're done.
Chilly.
All right, so Tua's out.
Correct.
Jordan Love, only half a year of great production.
True.
All right, so let's just see a little more. I think, I will say this.
You like Love more than Dak. But you haven't seen it enough?
But I just want to see a little more.
That's fair.
Okay.
I think this year, Jordan will move ahead of Dak. So this season, at some point this season. Kirk Cousins, you said he's 36. He's coming off the Achilles. And he has a similar problem to Dak, but probably even worse.
Exactly
Just hasn't been able to win big games, but is even worse in primetime games. Jalen Hurts, one great year out of 4, though.
I thought you would have Jalen ahead of Dak.
Yeah, I mean,
you like Jalen more than you like Dak.
I get like he's only had one great season.
Yeah.
And you can say the first one he wasn't really a starter.
Yeah.
But 3 seasons he's had one great season.
He has to get penalized for the supernatural funk as well.
It wasn't really his fault though.
Well, he wasn't the solution to the supernatural
Well,
funk.
he will be this year. Watch.
Okay.
All right. So Jay, Trevor hasn't been great. Can we agree? Hasn't been great since college.
Trevor
so
doesn't
I'm not
deserve to be ahead of Dak.
Right. You can't put. I mean, really, he hasn't been great since college.
Much like Jalen Hurts, one great year.
Right.
Yes.
Then the one guy, Brock Purdy.
Oh, this guy.
And
we're
look,
going to do
we're
Brock
going to do a
Purdy.
whole Purdy thing. No, we're going to do a whole Purdy thing.
I got a lot of Purdy
I know,
stuff.
but Purdy is coming up.
I got a lot of Purdy stuff.
A3.
I got more. Look, here's the first thing.
No, do not show the Purdy graphics. What are we doing?
And I got more. Believe me, I'm not gonna exhaust the tank. All right, I got plenty. Purdy has proven to be able to do what Dak can't, which is play well in the playoffs.
I agree. That's why we should talk about it.
He's my guy. I am moving him to 10.
Okay.
Ahead
That's
of
the
Dak.
Brock Purdy
So
guy.
that's I got more when we get there, but
got
I'm
it.
just giving
But
you
we're not- okay,
a
that's a
little
teaser.
tease.
So, but
Yes.
okay, but to be
He's just been better in the big
all
game.
right, that's fine. But to be clear, your answer to this is just right.
It's a group.
Right.
Can I make an
yeah,
argument
yeah,
for Dak?
yeah. Go
'Cause
ahead.
I don't
On
think-
behalf of Dak or
Yes.
against him?
Oh, no, pro Dak.
Okay, yeah.
And I will take my editorial leadership hat of Walking Boot Weekly off.
Walking boot. Okay, yeah, I forgot.
Because he was in a
Oh, yeah,
walking
that's
boot,
right.
and that always sends tremors
Hobble
through the
watch.
staff of
It was
Walking
nothing,
Boot.
though.
Well, he's in a walking boot.
Okay, but go ahead.
Yeah, but it was
Go ahead.
On front page news, Walking Boot Weekly. In any event, if I'm Dak Prescott, he's on the show. We had A-Rod on the show coming up,
Yeah.
and Dak Prescott here. He's like, "Hey guys, heard the segment? Did you see the full screen there where I completed the highest percentage of passes out of any quarterback, and I also threw the most touchdowns, so I was the most accurate, and I threw the most touchdowns. That seems to be better than 10th, statistically." And you're
then-
like, "What? You didn't produce in one game against in the Packers in the playoffs?" Like, I get it, but I was balling out all year.
Okay. So the
Why am I at 10?
And the answer to that would be, if you feel bad, imagine how Tua feels. Because Tua's got like it.
Right, give
At
Tua a
least
call.
we are
Lament
if I
together.
may, we are all at least consistent on this. Wilds as well. Wilds thinks Brew and I are too hard on Tua. And I think he thinks Brew and I are. I don't even know if too hard on Dak. I don't think this is a knock on Dak. The only to me guy that all of us would have ahead of Dak, that I think Dak would have a real gripe that all three of us, or at least Brew and I, have ahead of, is Justin Herbert. I think he's the only one that Dak
'Cause
might
he
say,
hasn't
wait
done
a
it.
minute.
Right.
You're
holding it against me,
You're
why
holding it
not
against
him?
me.
Right.
This guy's 0-1 in the playoffs.
That's right.
And has a meltdown, and that is like, yeah, it's the eye test thing, and sorry.
And
so,
his youth, that
Right.
you expect him to
But
improve a little bit.
everyone else that we, not necessarily that is on the list ahead of him, but that we, all three of us, would unanimously say is ahead of him, has great regular season numbers and postseason success to go along with it on their resume.
Yeah. One asterisk. I would have Dak ahead of this guy.
Well, yeah, I would too.
Coming in at number
I think
8.
We all would.
Yeah.
The guy who hasn't thrown for 300 yards in 23 games, it's Aaron Rodgers. Now, here's the interesting part of the survey. Jeremy Fowler writing, while Rodgers appeared on fewer than 60% of the ballots, nearly half of those ballots placed Rodgers in the top 5. So small but passionate. Quarterback purists still love him. Does Rodgers deserve to be at number 8, Brew?
I don't think so. I mean, obviously, they're just giving him respect for a great career and hoping he can do it again. But based on the last time we saw him, you can't have him in the top. And based on his age, being 40, and he's coming off the Achilles injury.
When you say the last time we saw him, you don't mean the Jets.
Not the Jets, right. I mean,
Exactly.
that was done.
2022, we have it.
2022, here we go.
Yeah.
He
Oh,
was
that's
this is since he's become a starter in the league, which is the last 13 seasons. His last year in Green Bay, worst yards per game, worst passer rating, and second worst in all these other things: TDs, interceptions, yards per attempt. So he appears to be on the decline. And I know a lot of people say, well, he appeared to be on the decline 5 years ago and came back with 2 MVP seasons, but he's now 40, coming off a serious
Correct.
injury.
And if I can add to it, I think we all had a similar version of that graphic. I want to show mine, which is instead of where it ranked for his career, where it ranked in the league. So no one has adequately explained to me how, let's just all pretend the Achilles injury didn't happen. Why would you expect a 40-year-old to be better with Bob Saleh and Nat Hackett a 2 year from the previous year where he played full-time when he was below average?
They're going to claim that thumb injury. Remember, it was kind of like that mysterious
No,
thumb.
I get it, but that same year,
He didn't really even use that as an
and also, by the end, here's the problem with the thumb injury part of it. Because there's two things. People say thumb injury, and the other thing, people will be like, oh, actually, the thing was this crazy thing. He didn't care.
Yeah.
He was not motivated. He actually didn't care, just wanted the money, but now he cares again. Do we think the thumb was as healthy as it was for months the final game of the year? Yes, because they were on that winning streak. Do we think in that final game of the regular season, at home against a divisional rival, he was peak motivated? Yes.
Yep.
How did that game end? The way so many of the most recent big games from Aaron have ended, with this just prayer ball, no reason, plenty of time, down 4, opportunity. Again, if you don't remember the context, that was Sunday Night Football because it was winning you're in for them. In that game, he threw for 200 yards, had 1 touchdown, that pick, an 83 rating, was 17 of 27. You can't convince me that that player is now all of a sudden great. He once was great. And then when you add to it, oh yeah, and what happened in the meantime? He tore his Achilles tendon. How that guy is considered, by, as you put, a lot of these guys, a top 5 quarterback is wish casting.
Well, he has to prove it. At the very least, it's like, you got to go out and prove it. We're not going to assume you're going to be the old great Aaron Rodgers until we see it again.
Yeah. Are you talking about we, us, or you too? Because all I hear for you is
football America.
Okay, because I don't know where you're at.
You don't know where I'm going when it comes to my picks. But for now, he's got to prove it.
Okay.
I don't see, with the Jets, quickly, he doesn't necessarily have to be a top 10 quarterback. They had a pretty good team, 7 wins, with the worst quarterback play in America. You like to deny it, but it's true. If he's just pretty good.
Just 3 wins. You only have to be 3 wins better than Zach Wilson and everybody else.
Shout out Ty Butler, who does radio on ESPN Radio in New York, texted me, said, man, when the Jets trade for Devontae, there are going to be so many parallels between bruised Nets and bruised Jets. He's not going to be able to.
Devontae Adams thing would change my tune a little bit.
It would? Oh, see, there we go. Both you guys can fall into that honey trap. There you go.
That's a little bit of a game changer.
There you go. Okay.
That's a little bit of a game changer.
The reason why we're not discussing Devontae is I brought it up to Hubs because Hubs is a Raiders fan. I really think he's trying to keep it out.
You don't think he has a chance?
I think Nat Hackett will have Devontae Adams running double reverses rather than posts. Yeah, I don't trust in all. I don't.
The guy went through a year with Josh McDaniels and Jimmy G.
I don't think an offense run by Nat Hackett and quarterbacked by a 40-year-old coming off an Achilles has a chance to be good.
It's Matt LaFleur's offense.
Okay.
They'd be like, hey, remember that?
Right. Okay. Okay. All right. We'll see.
Aaron's going to be running.
Well, there we go. He's back. We got him back. It just took a minute. Yeah.
News out of San Francisco. Brandon Ayuk wants a trade. More on that later. The knock on his QB is that he's weapons dependent, and maybe that's why he didn't even crack the top 10. Here's Purdy's numbers last year. If you thought Dak's numbers were good, well, you see?
I mean, those are some numbers, baby. I'm just saying.
No, Brew, you tried to squeeze. Oh, you want?
He already got to go on Purdy.
No, I got bored.
He already got to go on Purdy. He's about to filibuster, so just let me go first here.
Is not top
so
10.
Here's the thing, and I'm curious where this comes out, because everybody knows that I agree with the scouts and GMs on this. Obviously, Purdy's not top 10. And by the way, some of the guys behind him, because he came in.
Where did he come in?
11th. He came in 11th. But Jalen Hurts, who I'm not the biggest guy on in the world, I think is clearly better than him. Jordan Love, I think, is better than him. And by the way, the sample size isn't that demonstrably different between the two. Jordan Love's played 1 year. Purdy's played a year and a half. So I think that 11 is a little rich. Brew has positioned himself, Wilds, as the Purdy guy.
Yeah, that's true.
And now, and I bet he has a bunch of graphics explaining all of it.
They're easy. He makes graphics easy.
That's great. And now I am very curious to hear if in the entirety of this conversation, Bruce says at any point he thinks Purdy deserves to be firmly in the top 10.
Well, I said he was 10th.
10th. Okay,
I said I would put him ahead of Dak.
So you have him 10th.
Because I'm looking at it objectively.
So you don't have a big problem because he's 11th and he's 10th.
No,
so you have him 10th.
I'm not mad at 11.
Okay,
11 is fine.
exactly.
All right, but I'm saying, I said the last segment, I would move him ahead of Dak. I'm just being objective.
Yeah.
I'm not going off feelings. I'm not going off
then why
Dak's
is he
bigger.
not gonna be
Dak
top
looks
3?
more like a football player. I'm going off the production. Period. And don't give me Jimmy G. Because, yes, they won with Jimmy G, but Jimmy G didn't lead the league in passer rating and the top 5 in MVP consideration and all of that stuff. He didn't put up nearly the numbers. He didn't pass That's not first.
No.
Yeah.
He didn't pass Joe Montana and Steve Young and Jeff Garcia in
now
yards
he says
in
who
the
had the record.
season.
Okay.
Garcia was nice that year. But anyway,
yes.
here we go.
Get to the graphics
I'm
parade.
not surprised because a lot of the NFL scouts and stuff, look, they get enamored with the big arm.
They like their
the
athletes to be
size.
big and strong.
Yeah, I mean,
They're
really.
crazy.
No, but real talk.
Yeah.
They get enamored with the wow factor.
Where they were
the
drafted,
arm,
yeah.
the speed, the athleticism, where they were drafted. I get that.
But
I
not
do
you.
think I like the intangibles
Uh-huh.
because I know that Tom Brady and Joe Montana did not wow you with their physical gifts, but they had it up here. All right, they were smart.
he's like Brady and
Montana.
Montana.
He broke Montana's yardage record.
Well,
I'm just saying that.
Montana
I'm not
had
saying
that
he's
record?
Joe Montana and Tom Brady.
Okay, yeah.
But what I'm saying is he's got the intangibles, the intelligence that make for a good quarterback, and not everybody looks at those things. But here's something, passer rating. Passer rating is fair. It takes out all the players around you. In the last 21, in his 21 starts for Purdy, 14 times he's had a passer rating of 100 or more. Oh, that's the most in the league in the last 21 games.
Yeah.
Any quarterback's last 21 games, Purdy has had a higher passer rating in terms of 100
More
or
games
more
with that,
than
yeah.
any player in the league.
Yeah.
And you know, Nick, passer rating takes out
Is number
Christian
3
McCaffrey.
on that list Russell
Passer
Wilson?
rating takes out,
Yeah.
Debo Samuel and all that.
No,
so,
it doesn't.
So you can't just
No,
go
it-
with
it
the
doesn't
other players.
take out-
It's about the quality of your throws.
No, passer rating. No, you're thinking, no. The passer rating is.
Well, QBR does some of that, but I'm saying
But go
passer
ahead.
rating is a legitimate
I
measure.
do like the.
All right,
method.
so that's what I'm
I don't
saying.
agree.
It's
it takes
not
out
just,
the,
but it's not just based
But
on
go
the
ahead.
supporting
But
cast.
so-
Oh, by the way,
Yo.
his offensive line was 21st in the league.
So
Dax was 8th.
Right. So can I just ask a question? Since you're not a guy that is worried about the size and strength, and you're not,
I'm not saying
and
it's
you're
irrelevant.
not
I'm
a
just
guy
saying
that is.
I look at intangibles.
That cares about draft status and that. Okay. Who do you think is better, Brock Purdy or C.J. Stroud?
I want to see more from Stroud. I want to see more from both, but I would go with Stroud.
You go Stroud, right?
And I'm not dismissing athleticism,
No,
arm
I
talent.
understand.
I'm just saying I value intangibles
Right, but
more than
so
some.
then why
and
are
CJ
you,
has intangibles.
So why
too.
are you not willing to say he's a top 5 quarterback? Because all your stats.
Because I want
say
to see
he
a little
is.
more.
So
because I believe,
but
and
you're
hold on, I've been consistent in this. If he were, like, let's say he was the number 1 pick in the draft. He
Right.
was a college All-American. Everybody would be like, he's the guy.
Yes.
Like, they wouldn't be waiting. But when you are Mr. Relevant, when you were good at Iowa State, but, you didn't wow the nation, we're going to wait a little longer before we give you your full props.
But what?
So that's all I'm saying.
All right. So, but I don't this is where I stand. I dismiss the numbers as a product of the system. You say that's unfair.
Right.
You then present all these numbers that scream he is definitively one of the 3 or 4 best quarterbacks in the league, and you say he's 10th. So it sounds
Right,
like
because it's a balance.
Right.
It's a balance of I need to see a little more because of his unimpressive pedigree and what he's done on the field. So I'm balancing it.
Okay. All right.
I buy that.
I know. He thought he had me.
No,
but you see how
I
this
think that
came
if you're
brought us
saying
together?
you're the Brock Purdy guy, and when you put
not
pen
even
to
saying
paper, you have him behind Jordan Love, you're not the Brock Purdy guy.
When did I put him behind
I
Jordan Love?
thought when we were doing the top 10, maybe there's a
No, I
different
said I
guy.
got him right now 10.
10, okay.
Quick tinfoil hat conspiracy theory. If you're asking scouts where Brock Purdy is, if you're a scout that passed on Brock Purdy, you can't say he's top 10. You got to be like, oh, no, he's not the real
That's a
deal.
good one,
Keep
too,
my
Rob.
job.
You're right.
Finally, Mahomes comes in at number 1, which we were all expecting. But when you look at the fine print, it was actually a regular size font, but still, his lowest ranking was number 2. And then we went through it, and Josh Allen, his highest ranking was number 1.
Somebody voted Josh Allen 1 and Mahomes 2.
So his non-unanimous number 1. Is that disrespectful, you think?
I mean, look, 79 to 1 is pretty impressive.
It was 79?
Because there were, it was close to 80,
Okay,
nearly 80
all right,
scouts.
got it.
So
I
I
didn't
don't
know.
know, 74 to 1. You said nearly 80. But we talked about it when, who was it, Lamar? Or who were they talking about?
Let me look at the
CJ
board.
something?
I'm not
But
sure.
anyway,
Tank Dell said CJ Stroud could be the best. Yeah.
I don't know how you argue for anyone but Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, you don't.
Feels like it.
Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, what do you do? How are you putting somebody ahead of Patrick Mahomes?
And if you do, it can't be the guy he beats every year. If you're going to make the argument, it has to be like
Burrow?
Lamar because
But
he
he's
just won
beaten
MVP.
Lamar.
Or
Burrow's the
Burrow,
only guy with any success.
Right. Or maybe if somebody had even said CJ, like he hasn't played him yet.
Sure.
There are things. And there was
But all
more
that would be
disrespect.
disrespectful.
And there was more disrespect because I want to show you guys a quote from one of these anonymous scouts in the Mahomes section. He's never truly improved his footwork since he's been in the league.
That's a compliment.
Well, I knew you were going to say that, so in journalistic fairness for Baru's sake, I will show you the sentences before and after that quote. What's funny is he can still improve. He's never improved his footwork since he's been in the league. It hasn't mattered because he's so good. But that one sentence did stand there as it was. And more importantly, one of these 80-ish people said Josh Allen is better than Patrick Mahomes, which means the board.
Wow.
I mean, this is just an outrage. And the board, we're not even to August. The board, you would think people would be scared of the board at this point.
Well, that person
Anonymous
is scared.
They are. Good point. But there, Mahomes not unanimous number one. Dust, we're gonna have to do some housekeeping there. But the board, look at all these things on the board. That guy saying the Chiefs are gonna move to Dallas. Did Sean Payton really say Bo Nix reminds him of Patrick Mahomes? That happened? I mean, these are really some. Joe Shane, remember he was saying that Mahomes couldn't win in New York? Something about the media or the offensive line, I can't remember.
I sent something for the board, too. I forgot. We'll discuss it in the break.
That board is
coming up next. Team USA.